The morning sun stretched lazily over the quiet village of Oloroneo, its rays settling gently on the dusty paths, tin rooftops, and open farmlands. Birds chattered on mango branches, women bustled around their compounds, and children's laughter floated like soft music in the air. But inside a small mud brick house at the edge of the village, Amara, a humble and soft-spoken young black African woman, stared at her reflection in a cracked mirror. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the simple cream-colored dress she had borrowed from her cousin. She looked beautiful, but she didn't feel beautiful. Not today. Not when she knew the truth. She wasn't being married for love. She was being married out of pity. Quiet knocks sounded on the door. "Amara." Her mother's gentle voice drifted in. "It's time, my child." Amara swallowed hard, nodding even though her throat felt tight. Her mother stepped inside, her eyes warm but watery. She touched her daughter's cheek, brushing away a tear Amara didn't even know had fallen. "You are strong," Mama whispered. "Stronger than you think. God will not abandon you." Amara wished she believed those words. Because deep down she already felt abandoned. The man she was about to marry. Across the village square, Tobe, a tall and reserved black African man in his early 30s, stood surrounded by friends and extended family. Drums echoed, dancers spun, and people laughed loudly, but he felt no joy. He wasn't getting married because he wanted to. He was getting married because his late father had begged him with his final breath. "Tobe," the dying man had said, gripping his son's trembling hand. "Take care of Amara. She has no one. Marry her if she will agree. Give her a better life than this world has given her." Tobe had agreed. Not out of love. Not even out of desire. But out of duty. And now, as he stood waiting for the ceremony to begin, he wondered if he had made a mistake. He barely knew Amara. She was kind, gentle, hardworking, yes, but she was not the woman he had dreamed of building a life with. His mother pulled him aside, lowering her voice. "Tobe, at least try to smile," she scolded. "People will think you're being forced." Mama wasn't wrong. He was being forced, not by the living but by a dying man's last wish. Tobe exhaled slowly, trying to steady his spirit. The wedding that felt like a burden. When Amara stepped into the village square, murmurs spread through the crowd like wind through dry grass. Although her dress was simple, her natural beauty glowed effortlessly, the kind of beauty that didn't shout but whispered. Tobe's eyes widened slightly. She looked breathtaking. And for a brief moment, something flickered in his chest. But just as quickly reality returned. This wasn't love. This was charity disguised as marriage. The ceremony began. The elders blessed the union with wise proverbs. Drummers struck rhythms that vibrated through the earth. Women ululated joyfully. Yet both bride and groom wore strained smiles. When they exchanged vows, Amara's voice shook. "I will honor you," she whispered, barely heard. Tobe spoke his vows firmly, but without emotion. Amara noticed. The elders noticed. Even her own heart noticed, and broke a little more. As they sealed the marriage with the traditional cup of palm wine, their fingers brushed. Tobe quickly withdrew his hand. Amara pretended not to notice. But she noticed everything. The night that changed everything. After the ceremony, the couple returned to Tobe's spacious compound. It should have been a joyful homecoming. New beginnings, new love, new hope. Instead, silence hung thick between them. Tobe showed her the room she would use. Not his room, but a guest room. Her heart sank. "You can arrange your things here," he said quietly, avoiding her gaze. "Oh, okay," she whispered. She watched him walk away, shoulders tense, steps heavy. When he disappeared into his own room and shut the door, Amara sank onto the small mattress and finally released the tears she had been holding all day. She didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want to be pity. She didn't want a man whose heart lived miles away from her. A promise to herself. Late that night, when the moon glowed pale and soft, Amara stood by the window of her new room, breathing in the night air. The compound was quiet, but her heart was not. Her new husband didn't love her. He didn't even truly want her. But she made a promise to herself. "I will not let pity define me," she whispered. "I will build my own worth in this home. No matter how long it takes, I will give him reasons to respect me. Maybe even love me." Outside, Tobe stood near his window as well, staring at the same moon. He sighed, torn between duty, guilt, and confusion. Little did he know. This woman he married out of pity was about to become the greatest blessing he would ever receive. And life would teach him that love sometimes begins exactly where you least expect it. The first few days after the wedding passed in an uncomfortable quiet. Tobe kept himself busy, or at least pretended to. He left the house early, stayed long hours at the construction site where he worked as a supervisor, and returned home when darkness had fully settled. He was not trying to hurt Amara. He was trying to survive his own guilt. Every time he looked at her, he saw a reminder of the promise he made to his dying father, not a wife he had chosen. But while he avoided her, he could not avoid noticing her. A new home, a new loneliness. Amara tried her best not to feel the sting of his absence. She woke up early every morning, swept the compound, cooked breakfast, fetched water, and cleaned the house until everything sparkled. Not because she wanted to impress anyone, but because work kept her from thinking too much. However, in a home that echoed with emptiness, her thoughts always found her. Each night, she sat alone at the small dining table, waiting for Tobe to return. She didn't wait because she expected affection. No, she knew better. She waited because she respected the home she now belonged to. Some nights he came home late, too tired to eat. Other nights, he ate quietly but barely said 10 words to her. "Good evening," she would greet with a small smile. "Evening," he would reply, eyes lowered. Then silence would stretch between them like a wall neither dared to climb. One night, when he came home past 10 p.m., she approached him timidly. "You work late every day," she whispered. "Is everything all right?" He paused just for a heartbeat. "Yes," he said. "I'm fine." But the truth was far from fine. Tobe's struggle. Tobe wasn't avoiding home because he hated Amara. He was avoiding it because he felt like a thief of her youth, her choices, her dreams. He had taken her into his life without her truly having a say, and the weight of that decision sat on him heavily. He remembered how she stood at the wedding, trembling but trying to smile. How her eyes held gratitude but also fear. He hadn't been blind. He had seen everything. And the more he remembered it, the more he felt undeserving of her gentleness. But the world outside didn't give him space to think. People celebrated him as a noble man. The man who married the orphan girl to honor his father's wish. Some praised him. Some pitied him. But no one pitied Amara. And that made him uncomfortable. The woman she was becoming. If Tobe thought she was weak, he quickly learned otherwise. By the second week, Amara had transformed the entire compound. The overgrown backyard was now cleared, a small garden of vegetables was planted, and the inside of the house looked like something out of a home-keeping magazine. She didn't boast. She didn't complain. She simply worked. One evening, Tobe returned to see the compound lit with warm lanterns. Amara had set the table outdoors to let him enjoy the fresh breeze after a long day. He froze for a moment. Her effort touched something in him. Something small but impossible to ignore. She stepped forward, dusting her wrapper shyly. "I thought maybe you'd like to eat outside tonight," she said. He nodded slowly, forcing himself not to stare at her too long. They ate in silence at first. But something felt different. After. "Thank you," he said finally. Her eyes widened slightly, both surprised and relieved. "You're welcome." For the first time there was a hint of ease between them. The first real conversation. A few nights later, the rain poured heavily. The wind howled, shaking the windows. Thunder cracked like the sky was splitting open. Amara, who had always feared storms, sat in her room hugging her knees, trying to calm her trembling. Then a soft knock. She hesitated before opening the door. Tobe stood there, holding a small candle. "I noticed your light went out," he said. "Are you okay?" Her voice shook. I'm fine." The thunder boomed again and she jumped. Without thinking, Tobe stepped closer. "You're scared of storms?" he asked gently. She nodded, embarrassed. "Come," he said, motioning toward the living room. "You don't have to stay alone." She followed him hesitantly. A moment that changed everything. They sat together in the dimly lit room, the candle flickering between them. For the first time since their marriage, Amara saw him truly look at her, not as an obligation but as a person. He asked questions, real ones. "What was your childhood like? What did you dream of becoming? Do you like living here?" Amara opened up slowly. She told him how she lost her parents young, how she had learned to work hard to survive, how she longed for a family, not of wealth but of belonging. Her voice was soft but honest. When she finished, Tobe exhaled deeply. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For what?" she blinked. "For everything. For making you feel unwanted. For marrying you without truly giving you a choice. For not treating you the way a husband should." Her breath caught. No one had ever apologized to her like that. Thunder rolled again outside, but this time she didn't flinch. Not when her heart felt warmer than it had in weeks. "Tobe," she whispered. "I don't blame you. I know this wasn't your desire. But I want to make this home peaceful for both of us." He looked at her for a long moment, really looked at her. And in that moment, the distance between them shrank just a little. The beginning of something new. When the storm finally quieted, Tobe walked her back to her door. She paused before going in. "Good night," she said softly. "Good night, Amara." And for the first time, he said her name with warmth. She closed her door with a gentle smile, her heart racing. On the other side, Tobe stood still, replaying her words in his mind. Something was changing. Something unexpected. Something gentle. Something dangerous. He married her out of pity. But slowly, very slowly, a seed was being planted. The seed of love. The kind that grows in silence, but changes everything. The morning after the storm felt different, like the house itself had taken a soft breath. For the first time since the wedding, Amara woke up with a sense of calm. The fear, the uncertainty, the loneliness. They weren't gone, but they had loosened their grip. She made breakfast with unusual lightness in her steps, soft humming, gentle movements, a small smile she couldn't hide. Tobe noticed. When he walked into the kitchen and found her humming, he paused at the doorway, stunned by how peaceful she looked. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching her face in a warm glow. For a moment, he simply watched her. When did she start looking so beautiful? Perhaps she had always been. He had just never allowed himself to see it. He cleared his throat. "Good morning." He turned, startled. "Good morning, Tobe." He hesitated. "You slept well?" "Yes," she said softly. "Thank you for yesterday." He nodded, suddenly shy. A shift in the air. The change between them was gentle but clear. Tobe started coming home earlier. He began eating the meals she cooked without being forced. Sometimes, he even lingered in the living room, pretending to read while secretly enjoying the quiet company they shared. But the biggest shift came unexpectedly. The market incident. One afternoon, Tobe stopped by the village market to buy building materials. As he waited, he overheard a group of women whispering nearby. They didn't notice he was close enough to hear. "That new wife of Tobe's. That girl is too ordinary for him. They say he only married her because of his father. I heard she was homeless before. And she's not even that pretty." Tobe's jaw clenched. He hadn't expected the anger that rose inside him. Sharp, protective, burning. He stepped forward suddenly. "Is this what you do here?" he asked calmly, though his eyes were cold. "Stand around judging someone who has done nothing but work hard and mind her business?" The women gasped, startled. "Tobe, we didn't mean." "Next time you talk about my wife," he said, voice steady, Remember that she deserves respect. And so do I. He walked away before they could respond. But his heart thundered all the way home. The moment he couldn't hide. When he reached the house, Amara was outside tending to the small vegetable garden she had built. She smiled when she saw him. "You're home early." "Yes," he said, still breathing heavily from the market confrontation. She didn't notice. She didn't know that someone had defended her fiercely. She didn't know that something inside him had shifted permanently. He watched her as she wiped sweat off her forehead. Her hands were covered in soil. Her wrapper was dusty. Her hair was tied loosely behind her head. She didn't look like the glamorous women society worshipped. But she looked like peace. She looked like a second chance. She looked like someone worth fighting for. And suddenly, Tobe realized something quietly powerful. He liked coming home because she was there. A stranger arrives. The peace didn't last long. 3 days later, an unexpected guest arrived. Linda. Childhood friend. Or rather, a woman who thought Tobe should have chosen her. She walked into the compound with confidence, wearing designer perfume and a smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Tobe!" she called out, waving dramatically. He turned startled. "Linda, what are you doing here?" "I came to greet you, of course. I heard you got married." Suddenly, her eyes slid to Amara, who stood quietly by the doorway, unsure whether to smile or hide. "This is my wife, Amara," Tobe said firmly. Linda's gaze traveled slowly over Amara, judging everything. Her simple dress, her bare face, the innocence she carried. "Oh," Linda said finally. "She's very humble." The insult was wrapped in sweetness. Amara bowed slightly. "Welcome." Linda smiled wider. "You're polite. That's good." Tobe's face tightened. The seeds of tension. Linda stayed longer than necessary, talking loudly about her job, her travels, her admirers. "So Tobe," she asked boldly, "how is married life? You adjusted well." He glanced briefly at Amara, then back at Linda. "Yes, I did." Linda raised a brow. "Truly, you married to her." There it was, the open disrespect. And Amara felt it like a slap, not because she was ashamed of who she was, but because she didn't want to embarrass Tobe. She excused herself quietly. Tobe watched her walk away, guilt rising in his chest. Linda smirked. "So, she's the woman you chose." Tobe turned to her, voice calm but sharp. "I didn't choose her with my eyes, Linda. I chose her with something deeper." She froze. "And I won't tolerate anyone disrespecting her in my home." Linda blinked, shocked by the firmness in his tone. "I think it's time you left," he added gently but firmly. Linda stood up slowly. "Tobe, you've changed." "Yes," he said. "I have." She walked out, her pride bruised. But inside the house, a different storm was brewing. The unraveling. Amara sat on the bed, head lowered. When Tobe walked in, she wiped her eyes quickly, pretending not to have been upset. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "You didn't deserve that." She shook her head. "It's fine. I'm used to people seeing me as less." He knelt slightly so she would look at him. "Don't say that. You are worth more than they know." Her breath hitched. "Do you really think so?" she whispered. "I know so." Silence filled the room, warm, tender, heavy with unspoken words. "Tobe," she said softly. "Why are you being so kind to me?" He swallowed. Because he was starting to care. Because he was seeing her differently. Because something new was growing inside him. But he couldn't say it yet. Instead he said the safest truth. "Because you deserve kindness." Her eyes glistened. And for the first time, Tobe reached out and gently held her hand. She stiffened, surprised, then slowly relaxed. The warmth of his touch spread through her like sunrise. The first real sign of love. That night, when Amara prepared dinner, Tobe joined her in the kitchen. "What are you doing here?" she asked, confused. "Helping," he said simply. She blinked. "Tobe, you don't cook." He picked up a knife awkwardly. There's always a first time. She laughed, a soft, beautiful sound he had never heard before. And something in Tobe melted. He didn't know what the future held. He didn't know how long it would take for his heart to fully open. But he knew this much. He no longer saw Amara as a burden. He no longer saw her as pity. He no longer saw her as a duty. He saw her. Really saw her. And without realizing it, Tobe was falling. Slowly, quietly, irresistibly. Weeks passed, and something beautiful began to blossom in the Okafo household. The once cold house now carried warmth, laughter that didn't feel forced, conversations that didn't end abruptly, and small moments that felt like delicate threads weaving two hearts together. Amara and Tobe weren't lovers yet, not officially. They weren't even sure what to call their relationship. But the distance between them had disappeared like fog under morning sun. Every morning, Tobe found himself looking forward to seeing her. Every evening, Amara found herself waiting for the sound of his footsteps. It was as if two strangers were slowly learning the language of each other's hearts. But life, as always, tests anything that begins to bloom. And the test came suddenly. In the form of Tobe's mother. The mother-in-law returns. Mama Okafo arrived unannounced, dressed in expensive lace, head tie high, eyes sharp enough to cut through steel. Tobe froze the moment he saw her at the gate. "Mama, you didn't tell me you were coming." "I don't need appointment to visit my only son," she replied, brushing past him. She walked into the house like a queen inspecting her kingdom. Her eyes landed on Amara, who quickly knelt and greeted. "Good afternoon, Mama." Mama Okafo's lips curved, not into a smile, but into something closer to displeasure disguised as politeness. "Oh, you're still here." Amara lowered her head, hurt stinging her chest. Tobe stepped in immediately. "Mama, please." "It's fine," Amara whispered. But it wasn't. Mama looked around the house, frowning at everything. "The curtains are too dull. This living room looks too small. Is this what you call a home for my son?" "Ah, Amara, you don't know anything about keeping a man happy." Every word was a slap. Tobe clenched his fists. "Mama, that's enough." Mama Okafo gasped dramatically. "Enough. Did you just tell your mother to stop talking?" Tobe opened his mouth, but Amara touched his arm gently, silently pleading with her eyes. "Let it go," her look said. He exhaled and stepped back. Mama smirked satisfied. But unknown to her, her storm was about to meet a surprising resistance. The first defense. Later that evening, Mama Okafo confronted Amara directly in the kitchen. "Tell me," Mama said, arms crossed. "What exactly do you bring into this marriage?" Amara's heart beat fast. Mama continued. "No money. No connections. No beauty that stands out. No special skills. Why should my son remain with you?" The words were poison. But Amara had changed since she entered this house. She was no longer the timid girl who feared every voice raised at her. So she lifted her chin slightly and said, with quiet courage, "I may not have much, Mama, but I have a heart that loves. And I am learning to be better every day." Mama scoffed loudly. "Love. Love cannot cook soup or buy land." Amara inhaled deeply. "No, Mama. But love can build a home stronger than money." Mama froze, stunned by the unexpected boldness. And just then Tobe walked into the kitchen. His mother turned to him immediately. "Tobe, you heard her. This girl thinks she knows more than me." Tobe looked from his mother to Amara. Then he said something none of them expected. "Mama, I agree with her." Silence. A deep, heavy silence. Mama Okafo's eyes widened as if she had been slapped. "What did you say?" "I said I agree," Tobe repeated calmly. "She has worked hard to make this house a home. She deserves respect." His mother stared at him, shocked, furious, and disbelieving. "You're choosing her over your own mother." "I'm choosing fairness," he replied. Amara's breath caught. Not even in her wildest dreams had she imagined Tobe would defend her so openly. Mama Okafo grabbed her bag dramatically. I will not stay in this house and be insulted. I'm leaving. Tobe didn't stop her. She stormed out, her pride bruised beyond repair, but she left behind a seed of trouble that would soon grow. A night of revelation. Later that night, Tobe knocked on Amara's door. She opened it slowly, unsure. Can we talk? He asked. She nodded shyly and stepped aside. They sat not too close but not as distant as before. Tobe sighed heavily. I'm sorry for how my mother behaved. You don't have to apologize for her, Amara said gently. I do, he insisted. You didn't deserve any of it. She blinked away tears. Tobe, you didn't have to defend me. But you did. I did because I wanted to. His voice was low, honest. And because you matter more than I realized. Amara's breath trembled. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Tobe continued. I know how this marriage started. I know I didn't make it easy for you. But these past weeks, you've shown me a kind of peace I didn't know I needed. Her heart thumped loudly in her chest. Tobe, what are you saying? He hesitated, then he said the truth. I'm saying you are not a burden, Amara. You are becoming the best thing that has happened to me. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know whether to speak or remain silent. So she whispered the only words that came out. Thank you. The twist, a message in the dark. Just when the moment felt warm and safe, Tobe's phone buzzed. He glanced at it casually. Then his face changed instantly. His brows tightened. His jaw clenched. What's wrong? Amara asked. He swallowed. It's my mother, he said slowly. She sent a message. What did she say? Tobe hesitated, then read it out loud. Tobe, I have made my decision. This marriage must end. I have seen something you need to know, something about Amara. I have proof. Amara's eyes widened. Proof? Proof of what? Tobe stared at his phone, dread filling his chest. I don't know, but she said she's coming back tomorrow morning. Amara's heart began to race. A sudden cold fear swept through the room. Whatever Mama Okafo had planned, whatever proof she claimed to have, it was coming, and it threatened to tear apart everything that had just begun to grow between them. Tobe didn't know what to believe. Amara didn't know what to fear. But one thing was clear. Tomorrow would change everything. And not in a small way. Morning arrived like a trembling heartbeat. The sun rose slowly, but the heaviness in the Okafo household felt like a storm gathering. Amara barely slept. Tobe hardly blinked. Both waited for the knock they feared. And at exactly 8:01 a.m. it came. Tobe opened the door reluctantly. Mama Okafo entered with a dramatic flourish. Her wrapper tied tight, her face set like someone about to announce a war. Behind her stood a woman Amara didn't recognize. She was tall, confident, and dressed elegantly, a woman who screamed wealth and pride. Tobe frowned. Mama, who is she? That, Mama said triumphantly, is Edaora, your real match. The girl you should have married. Amara's heart dropped. Edaora stepped forward and smiled sweetly at Tobe, ignoring Amara completely. Good morning, dear. It's been a long time. Tobe's face hardened. We were never together. Why are you here? Mama waved him off. I invited her. Because you need to wake up. She turned sharply toward Amara. And you, sit down. It's time the truth came out. Amara sat slowly, chest tight. Edaora walked around the living room as if inspecting it. So this is the home she's been keeping, she smirked. Mama Okafo raised her chin proudly. Show him the evidence. Edaora handed Tobe a folder. He hesitated. Mama, what is this? Proof, she said. Proof that this girl, she pointed at Amara, is not who she pretends to be. Amara's hands shook. She whispered, voice trembling. Mama, what are you doing? Mama Okafo ignored her. Tobe opened the folder. Inside were printed papers, receipts, statements, and photographs. He stared at them, confused. What exactly am I looking at? Mama Okafo folded her arms. Your wife lied to you. She came from a poor home, yes. But she also came with hidden debts. She borrowed money years ago and never paid it back. She is bringing shame and liability into your life. Amara gasped. What? That's not true. But Edoora stepped forward confidently. I have access to financial databases. These debts are in her name. Tobe looked at Amara. Is any of this true? Amara shook her head frantically. No. I swear no. I never borrowed such money. I don't owe anybody. But Mama Okafo was not done. Oh, and that's not all. She dug into her handbag and pulled out an envelope. This is a message from her village. Someone reached out to me, anonymously, to warn us that Amara's family has a dark history. Amara's eyes widened. Mama, please stop. Whatever you think you know. Oh, be quiet. Mama snapped. You trapped my son with pity. With your poor background. With your soft voice. Tobe slammed the folder shut. Mama, enough. But Mama pointed a trembling finger at him. No. You will listen. This girl is not your blessing. She is your mistake. Amara felt something break slowly inside her. She had heard insults. She had heard rejection. But hearing someone call her a mistake, especially someone she tried so hard to respect, cut her deeper than anything. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Not yet. The truth comes walking through the door. Suddenly, the front gate opened loudly. Everyone turned. It was Emeka, Zara's younger brother, the one who lived in the village and worked as a barber. He had traveled early that morning after receiving a frantic call from Amara. He rushed inside out of breath. Tobe, please, don't listen to them. Mama Okafo scoffed. And who is this one? Emeka held up his phone. I have proof that all this is a lie. Edoora folded her arms. And who exactly are you? Emeka ignored her, walked straight to Tobe, and showed him his screen. A WhatsApp conversation. Between Edoora and the anonymous source. Tobe read it. He froze. Edoora's face changed immediately. That's not real. But the messages were clear. Send me her details. I need anything that can make her look irresponsible. Don't worry. I will handle Tobe once she is out of the picture. Just make it believable. His mother already hates her. Tobe raised his eyes slowly to Edoora. You paid someone to fabricate debts. Edoora swallowed. I was only trying to protect you. You deserve better. Better than what? He asked quietly. Better than a kind woman. Better than someone who has done nothing but try. Mama's face went pale. Wait, Edoora, is this true? Edoora's silence was the answer. The dam burst. Tobe turned to his mother. Hurt, disappointment, and exhaustion mixing in his eyes. Mama. You brought someone who wants to destroy my wife. Someone who lied. Someone who forged evidence. Why? Mama stuttered. I just wanted the best for you. You didn't want the best for me. You wanted control, he said calmly. Painfully. You never gave Amara a chance. You judged her before you knew her. Mama Okafo's lips trembled, words failing her. The woman who stood without fear. As everyone argued, Amara stood slowly. For the first time her voice was steady, calm and strong. Tobe. He turned toward her instantly. She looked him in the eyes, wounded but unwavering. I can survive insults. Can survive poverty. Can survive rejection. But I cannot survive being a wife who is always fighting to prove her worth, to people determined not to see it. No, Amara, he whispered, stepping closer. She shook her head. Let me finish. He stopped. She breathed deeply. I came here thinking I was doing you a favor. I believed this marriage was charity. But now I know something. She paused, tears streaking her cheeks. I was not a burden. I was a blessing. and not everyone can handle blessings. Silence filled the house. Even Mama Okafo blinked, guilt creeping into her eyes. Amara continued, I will not walk away. Not because I am weak, but because love deserves a chance. Real love. Not pity. Not fear. Not manipulation. Tobe's eyes softened. He reached for her hands. You're right. And you are not going anywhere. He faced his mother and Adeora. This marriage, this woman. Choose her. Fully. Completely. No turning back. Mama Okafo's shoulders slumped. She suddenly looked older, smaller, defeated. Adeora lowered her head in shame. The ending that healed every wound. Later that evening, Mama Okafo approached Amara quietly. Her voice was softer now, humbled. My daughter. I was wrong, she whispered. I let fear and pride guide me. Can you forgive me? Amara looked at her, the same woman who had tried to break her spirit. And she smiled gently. I forgive you, Mama. Not because you deserve it, but because peace deserves it. For the first time ever, Mama Okafo pulled her into a hug. Not a cold one. Not a forced one. Real one. Epilogue. When love becomes a home. Months later, the family looked nothing like before. Mama Okafo treated Amara like a daughter. Adeora vanished from their lives. And Tobe. He grew into a man who understood love, because he almost lost it. One evening, as they sat outside watching the sunset, Tobe held Amara's hand and whispered, You were never a pity. You were an answered prayer. Amara leaned her head on his shoulder. And you, she said softly. You became my miracle. Their love was not built on perfection. It was built on storms, tears, truth, and forgiveness. A love that survived lies. A love that survived fear. A love that survived people who tried to tear it down. A love that grew strong. 'Cause it was real.